Well, John, I am standing here outside the White House. You can.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the live stream. Great to see everyone back again. Hope everyone is very well. We're up to 82 viewers. Fantastic. So I'm just going to go very quickly through each of the people here. Say hello. I try to do this every live stream because I value your input. So we have Killer. Great to see Killer again. Killer, you're fantastic. Mark, great to see you. Let's see, Maria, great to see you online. Kenny, great to have you back again. Matt Greek, sorry, 1066, great to see you. Maria, I said hello. Let me see. Keep going down. Jack, great to see you. Emily, Suzanne, fantastic. Q Library, great to see you. Jack, Vlad, Brendan, great to see you. Stu, Pauline, Morgan, great to see you again, Pauline. Andy, great to have you back on. I said hello to Maria, I think. Ailt, great to see you. Verti, fantastic. Christian, great to see you again. HMQ, hi. Hi to you too. David Clay, great to see you again. Jerry, great to have you on. Mrs. VSN, great to see you. Bob, great to see you. Bob has just joined Patreon, so it's great to see him on Patreon. Magister, great to see you again. Great to have you on again. Diane, great to see you. I hope I'm not missing out on anyone. Night Raven, great to see you again. Fantastic. Now we have Paul Matthews, great to have you on. Paul, Tom, great to have you on. So a lot of people from the Patreon have come over onto the live stream as usual. That's fantastic. Dave, great to have you. Lenny, great to have you on again. Dave, maybe I said hello to Dave already. Seb, great to have you on the live stream. Jamie, fantastic. David, great to have you. Lenny, Jamie. Oh, I'm missing some people, I think. I'll go very quickly. Macs are better than PCs. Great to have you on again. Oh, there's a mosquito in my room. Trevor, great to have you. Comrade, great to have you on. Kevin, Jimbo Tech, great to have you. Stay. Peter, Captain, Stephen Jones. I said hello to Andy. Stanley Beckett, great to have you. Don Donovan, great to have you. Anthony C, fantastic to see you, great again. Music Fanatic, fantastic. Grim Reaper, great to have you on again. Briss, great to see you. English Viking, fantastic once again to see you. Val, great to have you on. And I hope Glasgow Case, great to see you. Hope you had a good birthday. Jan, Glyn, John, two Johns. Pauline, I don't know if I said hello already. Temps, Simon Carr, great to have you on. And I go right to the bottom and we have Jeremy, John, and zoom down, and Narf, mispronouncing that name. So I hope everyone, I'm sorry if I missed someone. Combat Wombat, fantastic name. Great to have everyone back on. Great to see everyone. I hope everyone's fine. Lenhen, great to see you. And Nobby as well. Damn mosquito. Here in Italy, the weather has started to get very hot, and we have the mosquitoes. I have a tiny garden at the front of my home, and it's full of mosquitoes from morning to night. It's terrible. Okay, so I'm hoping there are lots of bats around because bats eat mosquitoes, allegedly. So just to give you a bit of an update here in Italy, first of all, can everyone hear me? Because I was having some problems with the sound, as many of you, okay, you can hear me because I'm talking about mosquitoes. So just to let you know what's happened here in Italy, on today was the festival of the Republic, so it was Republic Day, when Italy became a republic. So we have a special day for that, where people generally just travel around, treat it like a holiday. Yesterday, the 1st of June, we reopened the country a little bit more. So the lockdown was eased somewhat. So we're now able to move from one region to the next region. Now, I did pass by, I had to go, I don't remember where I had to go today, but I did have, I passed by a small car park where there's normally a running track, the bicycle track and running track, and it was full of people. So I was quite concerned about that. You know, I've been talking about how things in the UK, parks or whatever, are refilling up, and I'm concerned about that also. But also here in Italy, the lockdown is easing. We're further ahead than the UK. Artemis, great to see you. But I am concerned that many people are attempting to return to normal. So there are a lot of things I'd like to talk about tonight. So I want to start off by, so the name of the live stream was about the R number. So we're going to get to that later. But what I wanted to talk about first is Agent Orange in the White House, and how he is going full dictatorship in a sense. So before we get to watch this video, I just want to look at some of your comments, and if you have any questions, remember, stick them in the comment section. If you would like to prioritize your question, you can hit me with a super chat. Remember, guys, always to hit the like button. We have 148 viewers. Well, that's what I can see, so that's great. I think we're up to almost 300 on Friday, so that was amazing. So, you know, I haven't been doing live streams a long time, so I want to thank Glasgow Kiss and Killer for advising me on how to do the live streams in a better way. So I want to say thanks to those two guys. Let me see. So you connect. Okay. So Anthony C says, due to all the looting in the San Francisco area, we now have a 6 p.m. curfew until 5 a.m. until June the 8th. The US has gone mad. Got to see my PayPal. Yes. Oops. Sorry, something happened there. Let me scroll back up. Lenny says, first time in months, sat in the garden and had a beer. Great. Was amazing part from falling off my bike on the way home. Ouch. Yeah, so this curfew being imposed is concerning. So this is an attempt to, of course, stop people from looting. Now, I'm not sure if the images we're seeing are representative of the protests, because there is usually an attempt by the media to inflate the imagery in order to, you know, to get ratings. So from what I've heard, most of the protests have been peaceful, but there is a small section who are violent and who are rioting. But of course, they are the ones that get the media lens. But it's very concerning for people who have small businesses in these towns. I'm not really concerned about the large corporations. You know, if their stores get looted or destroyed, they have insurance. They're making huge profits. So it's not a real sacrifice for them. It's not a real hit for them. But I am concerned about the small stores or so-called mom and pop businesses. Angels, great to see you. These protests are also people using the protest to loot other areas. That's disgusting. That's the police being violent. Yeah, so there's also stories about how the police are getting involved in the looting. Lots of cookies. Thank you very much for that. Thank you so much. If you have a question, you can stick it in the comments. I'll try to respond to it. Hi Max, hope yourself and your family are doing well. We're doing very well. I'm just a little bit nervous about how they're easing the lockdown here in Italy, but we have to eventually ease it. We are fortunate that the numbers of new cases have declined a great deal. So it's going to be something to watch over the next week or week and a half to see if the numbers start to rise up or to rise again. So thanks very much for that comment. The 1990s was a good year. Simon Cars, thank you very much for that super chat. America turned into the film They Live. Yes. You know, the whole imagery of in the film They Live, you know, where he has these glasses and he's able to see the reality. And of course that's in a way people are starting to realize that capitalism and the system is oppressing them, and a lot of people are angry about that. I think we wouldn't be seeing such problems if unemployment hadn't if there wasn't such high unemployment at the moment. I don't remember the current figures, but it's a record. It's the worst since the Great Depression. So I think there wouldn't be so much discontent if if coronavirus hadn't come along. So it's a sort of perfect storm. Rise of the R number, perhaps a new Star Wars movie. As Chris says, I slightly disagree. Big companies make massive profits, but the workers at the bottom who have to deal with the low pay will suffer. Yes, I agree. That's something I was going to come to as well. When there's rioting or whatever, it's the people at the bottom who suffer if the store is closed. So I still think damaging stores is not the way to go. You need to march. I wrote a comment about it on the community page today. You need to march on Washington. You need to march on the White House. You need constant rolling protests. Peaceful, of course, if you want to change the policies in the White House, if you want to improve the lot for people. But if you want a real revolution, unfortunately, I don't think the peaceful way works. It's not that I'm condoning it, not that I'm advocating for the destruction of or mass destruction. I'm just saying everything else has been tried. You know, the African American community believed things would get better for them if they had a black president, and things did not improve. So when they protest peacefully, you know, when they go down on one knee, they get criticized for that as well. So if they protest peacefully, they get criticized. If they protest violently, they get criticized. So they can't really win in a way. But the problem is the system. You have a system that convinces people that they need to get into debt. They need to spend everything that they have in order to have the best car, the biggest house, all of these things. Capitalism 101. And then if they can't, they're not good people. They need to work as much as possible in order to be able to buy these things that they don't need. Otherwise, they're not a good person. And the media, of course, reinforce this narrative. You know, be successful, have the expensive car or the big house. Those are symbols of success. And if you don't have those things, you are a waster. You're a failure. So people strive to have those things, and the society suffers as a consequence. Anyway, let me get back to your comments. So yes, the wealthy. Oh no, sorry. Yes, the wealthy always always been wealthy, but it's gone exponentially over the last 20 years. Brexit, Trump were both protests against the other 99.99% getting left behind. If we don't want a class war, even then, even it. Yes, it's people were convinced to vote for something that they thought would help them. I've still to find a Brexiteer who can explain how their life improved because of Brexit, them personally. They start talking about, yes, we're taking back our laws and we'll be able to unshackle ourselves from the European Union. The problem is I don't know if those are real people or if they're just political hacks. There are people there who just want to confront me because they disagree with me. But I try to ask people, how do you personally benefit from Brexit? And I haven't heard an answer. In the same way, if you ask a Trump supporter, how have you benefited by having Donald Trump as president? They can't answer it. Their lives have not improved. Now, before 2016, they would say, look, my life is terrible. I've lost my job. I want to have a job again. And Donald Trump is promising me these things. He's promising to make my life better. But in reality, of course, he didn't. Snowpiercer is a great, annoying for that. The elites first class and the economy class are great like rats. I heard an interesting, I saw an interesting video on YouTube, completely unrelated to all of what we're talking about, but it was about Snowpiercer being the sequel to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Now that sounds completely weird, but it actually made a lot of sense. I do recommend you search for it on YouTube. For Brexiteers, Max, it's just about striking back at the left, who keeps talking them down. This is the issue in almost every country. Yeah, it's not about improving my lot. It's not about improving the lives of ordinary people. It's about owning the libs or owning the left, or I'm willing to burn everything down, even if I suffer. And James O'Brien, of course, described it much better than I'm doing, but how I'm willing to suffer in order to see you suffer, which makes absolutely no sense. Brexit is not based on reason or facts. No, it's based on emotion. You know, sometimes voting with your emotions can be a good idea, but generally, if it's about the future of your country, economically, then it's not a good idea. You need to vote with your head, not with your heart. JPM, life improved. Yeah, Jacob Rees-Mogg's life improved. He'll be able to avoid more taxes, yeah. But the people who voted for Jacob Rees-Mogg, how the hell did their lives get better? That's what I'd like to know. I completely understand Snowpiercer being related to Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, by the way. That's good. Although your name is Lots of Cookies, so you shouldn't be watching Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Okay, so going to come back to your... Wow, we're almost up to 200 viewers. That's fantastic. So I want to look at this video. It's about Donald Trump releasing hell, basically. So we're talking about threatening to use the army to suppress these protests. It's down a very dangerous road. But let's hear what they have to say. So let me just open the video. Once again, guys, if you can't hear or if it's too loud or too quiet, please send a message in the chat.
You can see a crowd of several hundred protesters is gathered here behind me. They're holding banners. They are currently, as we stand here, crying out the name of George Floyd. They're kneeling down on one knee in his memory. I think you can see there very clearly in front of them a new long black fence that has been erected unbelievably overnight by the White House.
Something, you know, if Trump really wanted to be a true leader, he would come out and he would meet these people and listen to what they have to say. But he doesn't. He's not interested in doing that. He's interested in building a wall between. Thanks for the comments, guys. So the sound is good. So he's interested in building a wall, not just between the US and Mexico, but between people who disagree with him and himself.
Symbolic, really, of the moment and of the president's speech overnight, which wasn't in any way open and inclusive, reaching out to the people in a way of healing. It was instead a threat, really. He threatened a federal crackdown on cities and states that didn't immediately bring an end to some of the violence that we've seen across America in the...
Because he looks at people like Erdogan, or he looks at people like Putin or Kim Jong-un to a lesser extent, and sees how they deal with protests. You know, if you go and protest Vladimir Putin, now I hope my stream doesn't go down. If you protest Vladimir Putin, whether you agree or disagree with Putin, but you have to accept, if somebody goes and protests against him, that person or that group of people will have some serious problems. And Trump looks at that and sees, wow, these people protest against Putin and then they disappear. I want to have that type of power. And fortunately, the United States is not like that, where the president can just get rid of people. I know it makes for good movies, but it generally doesn't work like that. But Trump doesn't understand that. You know, he could actually take some steps that would improve his approval ratings, that would make him more approachable to voters who have no interest in voting for him in the first place. Now you're making the hamsters nervous. But it's he could be a true leader, and he could turn so many things around, but he's not interested in doing that. He probably doesn't understand why these people are protesting in the first place.
The past week or so, and of course those images that we've now all seen, he did exactly that last night on a crowd of peaceful protesters half an hour before the curfew, even as he simultaneously reached out to his base, his supporters, and reassured them that he would defend their right to bear arms, which may...
Something that really pisses me off is, where are all the gun people? You know, these libertarian fanatics who say, we hate the government, we don't want the government taking our rights away, we're going to defend our rights no matter what. Where are these people? Sitting at home polishing their guns. That's what they're doing. They don't care about government overreach. They don't care about tyranny. They only care about tyranny if it's a Democrat who's in the White House, and if it's a Democrat wearing a tan suit or asking people to eat more vegetables. That's for them. That's for them tyranny. A president who's building a wall between people who have a legitimate reason to protest and himself and the White House, and talking about sending the military out. Where the hell are these gun people? These so-called libertarian anti-government people? Complete silence from these people. I'm not saying that it would be good to have them out protesting, but they're completely silent when the President of the United States is talking about sending soldiers on the streets of the American capital. Once again, where are these people? I'd like to hear from Sargon of Akkad, who's always talking about we need to defend our freedoms and all of this. Where the hell is Alex Jones? I guess he's not able to make YouTube videos anymore. Where are all these, so-called libertarian freedom fighters? Complete silence from them, because they're cowards. They're partisan. They're not libertarian. They're Republicans. They support Trump no matter what he does. Trump, and I've talked about this before, Trump could come and say, I'm going to take away all of your guns, and they would hand them over, because they care more about politics than they care about any type of principle. Eating ours. Thanks for that comment, Kit.
saw as exactly that, a call to arms by the president. This was vintage President Trump in an election year. He wants to be seen as strong and tough, the president, as he called himself, of law and order.
But this is not strength. This is weakness. A strong president would win over these people. A strong president wouldn't hide in a bunker from anti-fascists. You know, how is this strength? Maybe for his supporters, but those people would, you know, if he came out crying and saying, "Please leave me alone," his supporters would say, "Look at how strong he is, crying." Those were not tears of fear. They were tears of passion. That's what they would say. So there's no point attempting to win over the base, because they're already on his side, and they will always be on his side no matter what he does. He could eat one of their children live on TV and they would still vote for him.
Joe Biden, the presumptive Democratic nominee today, has said that President Trump is part of the problem, he says, consumed with his blinding ego, he described it. But the images really...
Sorry to be, I'm always interrupting this video, but it would be, I think if Joe Biden marched with some of of course the peaceful protesters, not with the rioters, but if Joe Biden marched with the protesters, I think he would have the election in the bag. Imagine Joe Biden. Now, I'm not, you know, I'm cynical of politicians, of course, but it would be some image, Joe Biden walking arm in arm with the protesters towards the White House and asking Donald Trump to come out, standing there saying, "Come on out, you coward, come on out." Can you imagine? If I was Joe Biden, that's what I'd do. I'd go there and say, "Come out, you coward. Where are you? Why are you hiding? Why are you hiding from the American people?" And of course, Trump would not come out. And it would be a fantastic image, you know, a picture. It would be a fantastic picture. Maybe I should do that. Let me just look at some of your comments. Well, I doubt it. No, sorry. Anthony C., the leader of the Catholic Church in the US and Anglican Church. Oops, the comments are going quite fast. I need to scroll back up. Unequivocally condemned him and on Christian actions. Yeah, Trump coming out with the Bible. You know, Trump is an atheist. Actually, no, he's not an atheist. He does believe in a God. He just believes that he is a God. So that's technically not an atheist. But it's so ironic, Trump coming out with a Bible and saying, "Look, I'm here." Once again, it's a cynical attempt to appeal to his base. So the evangelical Christians who always vote, you know, they never sit home. He knows he needs those people, so he comes out with a Bible, and they're very easily won over. They don't have any critical thinking skills, like, you know, is he taking the piss here? Is he just doing this to get our vote? They don't seem to be very clever people. Joe has too much history and has been an uphill battle, even though Trump is so unpopular. Yeah, Joe Biden is a terrible candidate, but I think, and he has a terrible history. He was against busing. So busing was about bringing African American kids into white areas, so to increase race mix, like increase how can I say, to stop segregation, and he was against that. You know, he worked with segregationists in the South as well. You know, he's not a fantastic candidate to say the least. But can you imagine an image of him marching with those people towards the White House? I think it would work out very well for him. It'd be an iconic image that he could use. Maybe it would be very cynical to do it, but is Melania Eva Brown? Trump's base is loyal to T. He could have been the one to murder George Floyd, and it's still win. They'd probably say, well, he deserved it. You know, at least he did it himself. That's he didn't ask a cop to do it. He did it himself. That's his, hands-on approach, or neon approach would be more applicable. Is there a moral imperative to bring back, being nasty to racists, as is making it socially toxic again? No, I don't understand your comment. Sorry, can you rephrase it? Trump bases law. Yeah, sorry, I read that. That mayor was great. Yeah, the mayor who told Donald Trump, my comment to you starts with an F and ends with a U. Biden and Trump are the crazy uncles your family warned you about. Yes. I doubt Andrew Lloyd Webber will be writing a Trump musical. You sound evil like DC. You sound evil like DC. No, I don't understand. Okay, let's hear what else she has to say, or the report has to say, I should say.
Of the protesters fleeing last night, a barrage of rubber bullets and tear gas, aside from the president's words that he wants...
Sorry, just once again, I'm stopping it every few seconds. This about tear gas and rubber bullets. Rubber bullets were used in Northern Ireland against protesters. And that was a symbol of civil rights in Northern Ireland in the 1960s, where Catholics couldn't vote or couldn't be represented. And the British, so what happened was the RUC at the time weren't able to deal with the protests, so the situation had gotten out of hand, so the British had sent the army to Northern Ireland to help protect the Catholic community. And eventually the IRA didn't like to see the British army there, so the British army resorted to fighting against the Catholic community again. But one of the symbols was the plastic bullet, or the rubber bullet, used against protesters, peaceful protesters as well. And of course this was a symbol of the oppression, the imperialism, the tyranny, the rubber bullet or the plastic bullet. I'd pay a protester $1,000 to snatch Trump's golden top off in public. Let's start a GoFundMe for that. That would be hilarious. Him running off bald. Maybe his supporters would be, oh my God, it's the emperor has no clothes.
Wants them to remember. Those images may well be the thing that everybody here remembers the most. After 7 days when violence has ripped through the heart of America, the president finally addressed the nation, a moment they hoped for calm and unity.
I am your president of law and order and an ally of all peaceful protesters.
And yet moments before he spoke, a couple of 100 yards from where he stood on the podium, the White House let forth a phalanx of troops, Secret Service and mounted police.
There are people filming here getting hit by a police shield. Are there no rules for police engagement? Shouldn't the police be trained to de-escalate? Didn't like the British Army Max after Conservative and Unionist Party in 1970 and Edward Heath introduced internment without trial and martial law. No. Catholics in Northern Ireland could vote, but it was always discriminated in job, housing and policing, particularly with the B specials. Thanks for that, Andy, and thanks for that, Kevin. I need to get up to speed on Northern Ireland history again. The emperor lost his head ferret. Keller, you need to have your own YouTube channel where you make puns and jokes. As in should go back to actively making racists uncomfortable about being racist. Yes, no, I agree with that. As in actively telling them they're committing a moral abomination. Yeah, I think pointing it out, but I think, curing, for a better word, racism, requires getting people to sit down with others and understand what they have in common. Understand that, the person who you hate is actually is more similar to you than the person who's telling you to hate them. In USA, there has been over 100 attacks over the press. Trump has turned them into the enemy. Yeah, and this has been going on since day one. The lamestream media. The media are the enemy of the people. Where he put them in cages, like caged them off during his rallies, would point them out and say, those people are the problem, those people are the fake media, the fake news, and creating them as the enemy. And of course, when they're on the street trying to report on it, and the Trump supporter is wearing a police uniform and carrying a shield and a baton, of course he's going to look at the so-called fake media and beat the crap out of them.
Who, without warning, unleashed a barrage of stun grenades, tear gas and rubber bullets on the crowd of peaceful protesters.
This doesn't end well. It's one thing using aggressive tactics on rioters, because that doesn't cost you support with the public. But using tear gas, rubber bullets, whatever, on baton rounds, on peaceful protesters, that's not going to end well for whoever's instigating that. We've seen it before. We've seen it throughout history. You become the bully. You become the bad guy there. You're the one who is shown as the evil one, and you're not going to be remembered as the one who maintained calm. You're the one who created more problems, and it's this is the beginning of the end for Donald Trump. I hope it is, but unfortunately, we're into uncharted territory.
As they fled in a split-screen moment synonymous with his presidency, this is how the scene played out on national television.
If a city or state refuses to take the actions that are necessary to defend the life and property of their residents, then I will deploy the United States military and quickly solve the problem for them.
So I will be the dictator. I will be... give me a uniform. Make me a general. I will send tanks onto the streets and sort this out. Stanley says, Max, Northern Ireland Catholics voting rights were restricted, as you could only vote in local elections if a ratepayer, i.e. a property owner. This is how there was a unionist-run council in Derry, a Catholic majority city. Thanks for that information. For that education, I should say. Thanks for that. Yeah, I knew there was something about you needed to be a resident, or you needed to be a homeowner in order to actually vote. So the unionist response would have been, well, if you're a homeowner, you're a responsible citizen. If you're a rent payer, then you're not a responsible citizen. So that's why we should only give the vote to responsible citizens. Of course, creating an anti-democratic society. Want to know how bad they can actually get? The Tulsi Race Massacre, also known as the Tulsi Race Riot, the Greenwood Massacre, or the Black Wall Street Massacre of 1921. They air-bombed the city. Wow. I need to read up on those as well. This is... But it's we can't imagine them using the Air Force in this moment. But would anyone really put it past Trump? Of course, they probably wouldn't use the Air Force. They would use drones, because we don't want pilots getting hurt. That would be the response, because that'd look bad. We can kill protesters, but an injured pilot or a dead pilot would upset a lot of people. But yes, this is going down, as I said before, a dark road.
With the streets cleared out, the president, smarting from criticisms that he'd hid in his bunker as America burned, strode out, stepping across the debris and framed by angry graffiti for this staged photo op in front of the president's church.
This is probably the worst image of Donald Trump's presidency. The city is burning and he's standing, Captain Burns, he's standing in front of a church holding a Bible while a man has been murdered by the police, and he hasn't reached out to the. So he allegedly he had called the family, but he didn't want to actually talk to them. He didn't want to actually hear what they had to say. The brother of the victim said that he wouldn't let me get a word in edgeways. Knowing Trump, he was probably talking about, I heard about your brother getting killed. That's pretty sad. But have you heard about my ratings? Do you know how great my ratings are? How great my approval ratings are? Everyone loves me. Everyone thinks I'm doing a fantastic job. And the coronavirus is about to disappear at any time. It's going to be a miracle.
It was lost on no one that he was flanked by white people after a speech where he mentioned the death of George Floyd, but said nothing of how he would heal a fractured, angry nation. Later,
because this is playing to the crowd. This is playing to his base. His base are, pleasuring themselves looking at this, looking at how their own country is burning and how this guy is incompetent, to say the least.
The Episcopal Bishop of Washington, who presides over the church, said she was given no warning of the president's stunt.
He was using our church as a backdrop and the Bible as a prop in ways that I found to be deeply offensive.
And he was doing so the same day that Terrence Floyd visited the site of his brother's death and called for peace.
Do this peacefully, please. If I'm not over here blowing up stuff, if I'm not over here messing up my community, then what are y'all doing?
Now this is probably not going to win me a lot of support, but it's important that we don't focus on what the rioters are doing. This is a deeper problem. This is not just about people breaking storefronts. This is not about people, smashing windows or whatever. This is a much deeper problem. This is an integration of different issues. You have racism. You have capitalism, which is pushing people to get into debt, to destroy their own lives in order to have what they can't possibly have. There is a corrupt system that makes sure that the poor are never represented, that corporations are always protected. And you have this facade that, well, if you vote for Joe Biden, this is going to fix things. People tried that. People voted for Barack Obama. It didn't make things better for the majority of people. The status quo was not upended. There was no real change. There was a lot of hope, but there was very little change. Because the public were convinced it wasn't necessary. You have your symbol. Barack Obama is a symbol, but he's not going to change anything. He gives the perception of change. It's not capitalism, but Keynesianism, about creating debt. That pushes people into debt. You have one system for corporations and the large businesses and the billionaires. And you have another system for the poor and the working class. And the working class are always told you, if you work more, you can become a millionaire too. You can have the American dream. The American dream is dead. In order to become a multimillionaire, you need connections. You need to be given the money from your parents or your relatives. You're right, Max. It's not about property damage. It's much deeper. In one word, about oppression. It's neoliberalism is the real cancer. Yes. It worries that this could happen in the UK. The last to it happened because the police were a loads of petrol around the UK at the moment, and the stray match start a fire. Obama had his hands tied behind his back for much of his presidency. My criticism of Barack Obama was from the beginning. He had a 60-seat majority. He had a super majority in Congress, and he had a majority in the Senate. And there was an opportunity immediately for him to implement the changes that he had talked about, and he wouldn't do it. There was a chance of having something similar to Medicare for all, and he wouldn't implement it. And gradually, his support disappeared, was eroded, and he lost in 2010. He lost the majorities he had in both houses, or in at least one of them. It is sufficient to lose one, and then that was it. Then he was playing catch up. He was playing negotiator. He was attempting to placate. He was attempting to keep the Republicans on side. It's like, I don't want to push the Republicans too far. I'll give them something in order to get something else. And at the end, it was a betrayal of the people who voted for him. I'm not saying he was a terrible president, but there was so much he could have done in the first 2 years, and unfortunately, he wasted that political capital that he had. I remember when he became president, politicians were queuing up for a photo op with him. Politicians, even Republicans, were begging for him to come to their city. They were begging him to appear so that they could see, look, I'm a Republican, but I'm with Barack Obama, because he was so popular. People believed he was going to change the system. People believed he was going to upend the system in a way. And of course he didn't. He maintained the status quo. He served a purpose. The system protected itself. Said, oh, you want a black president? Okay, we'll give you a black president. But he's not going to change anything. He'll give you the perception of change. And, I can understand if people say, well, he wasn't able, he tried, but he wasn't able to do it. But now he is going around and he is defending what happened. He was attacking Bernie Sanders during the campaign. So no, but people shouldn't be really going in the direction of Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is too radical. Bernie Sanders was exactly like you back in 2007 and 2008. Obama played it too safe. But and this is part of his legacy. He has to take responsibility in part for Donald Trump. I believe that you either become part of the system or you reject the system. And Barack Obama became part of the system. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked.
But across the country, the rage continued. In New York, looters ransacked the famous Macy's department store. See,
this is very good for the media. I'm not blaming Channel 4 here. They're broadcasting it. They're not benefiting from it exactly. But this is to create a victim that is not a victim. This is creating the minds. Look, Macy's is a victim. Macy's is suffering here. I understand the staff. Many of them will not be able to work. They will be laid off. But we don't hear about those people. We hear about Macy's. Macy's has been damaged, has been destroyed. Macy's is the victim here. But this is missing the point. Tin hat time. Chris says, I think Democrats would rather be in opposition. It's their donor benefits. If they were elected under social reform, they didn't deliver. I agree 100%, Chris. And it's not a tinfoil hat message time. Max, what do you think will happen in the US with these protests? Says Artemis. Sorry. I think what's going to happen is I have a fear that they're going to fizzle out. Something else is going to come along, and the momentum will be lost. I think a problem is that they have become so far away from the original problem. So the original problem was this man was murdered, I should say, by the police. Now we're seeing images of people rioting and destroying property. Now, how is that connected with the original problem? How is that about police reform? This is the problem. It's the message is not. Thanks, Max. I feel less paranoid. No, maybe both of us are paranoid, Chris. But we're getting so far away from reforming the police, and I'm talking about my goal or my objective is destroying something completely bigger than that. But I understand the protests here, that they want police reform, they want justice. That's what their message should be about. If you want to destroy capitalism, you have my support. But that's for another day. So I'm afraid that what's going to happen is, because the protests are a mixture of different groups who have different aims, they're eventually going to get disenfranchised, and they're going to disinterested, and they're going to. I have a fear that they're going to fizzle out. Now, it could go in another direction where it becomes more intense, and Donald Trump gets extremely worried, and he starts to put more police on the streets, more military on the streets, drones in the skies. That would be extremely concerning, because then it increases the risk that some people will be killed, be them security or protesters. But another aspect that is not part of a normal scenario is people have jobs to go back to. Under a typical scenario, many of the protesters, okay, the weekend is over, I did my protest, now I have to go back to work. But because many people have lost their jobs, many people can't go back to work, perhaps these protests are going to last much longer than they would normally. Okay, Maria says, it's not about police reform, it's about instilling the fear of God in the sycophantic ruling class. Psychotic ruling class. Make them afraid of the guillotine. Yes. But I don't see them worried. They're not yet. To make them worried, you would need to have, and I don't know what, because the United States is a big ass country. So I think you would need maybe 1 million people marching on Washington, entering the House of Representatives, tearing people out by the hair of their head. That would put the fear of God in the ruling class. They would say, okay, our puppets are being damaged. Now we're concerned. Like, what's going to happen after that? We need new puppets. We need to convince the people who are removing the puppets to become puppets. That's how it normally takes place, unfortunately. So someone is removed, the new person becomes a new puppet. All of these protests worldwide, no social distancing. I'm also concerned. Am I concerned because they are congregating in an unimportant issue, unlike the idiots on packed benches? This is concerning, yes. The idea that people are risking the spread of the coronavirus, which is damaging to communities as well, because we've seen how ethnic minorities and African Americans in the US are at higher risk of getting infected than whites. So it's they are going out on the streets, but they are also increasing the risk of getting infected. So it's a disaster, to say the least. I had not. Sorry. Let me see. Maria says again. I already had that planned out. My path of choice would be to check the Forbes list for the names and addresses of the 500 richest people in the US and then protest them personally at their home. Which home? You'd need to be, they have more than one. But I said before, if Charles Koch, who has been funneling money into so-called grassroots movements in the US, right-wing grassroots movements, and people online, commentators with hundreds of thousands of subscribers, he has, if 100,000 people turned up at his door saying, we want you out, get on a plane and go to Bermuda or Cayman Islands or whatever, or we'll put you in a guillotine. I think he would be willing to leave. He would be willing to save his ass or his neck. Michael Bloomer could have given every American citizen $1 million and have 150 million change. Instead of running for president, he spent $500 million on his campaign and got 4% of the vote. Yeah, Paul, that was just disgusting. Why didn't he say, I want to have a legacy? This is the issue that many billionaires and multimillionaires have. They want to have a legacy. They want to be remembered when they die. They want to have their name up on a plaque. That's why a lot of them donate to art galleries or museums, because they know that these museums, these art galleries will see their name up on a plaque, and it will remain there for forever, for hundreds of years perhaps. That is they have given money to this art gallery. It is providing something to the public, not to the working class, of course, they don't care about those, but it's something that they can be remembered as. For them, it's something noble. Now, I think more noble would be, okay, I have $50 billion. I could end poverty. I could end homelessness, I could end homelessness in the United States. Now, isn't that a better legacy to have? The man who ended homelessness in the United States. Now, it would take time, but money is not a problem. I think it's something like $4 billion. They calculated something like $4 billion to end homelessness in the United States. The cost of, a few aircraft, expensive aircraft, military aircraft. If you wanted, you could do it. That would be an amazing legacy. Much better than a plaque on the side of a building. But a plaque on the side of a building is cooler for them. In the same way, so many billionaires were rushing to donate money to the reconstruction of the Notre Dame Cathedral. Not to the homeless people who would sleep around the cathedral. Glasgow Kiss, thank you very much for that super chat. You say Trump was critical of Singapore riots action. Yes. Hypocritical is his middle name. I know not many people know that. Max, the rich buying expensive art is a tax dodge, especially when they donate the piece to a museum. You're more up to speed on this, Killer, than I am. Maybe you're in the business of selling, buying art. No, but it's probably true, yes. But also I think there is this this aspect of, look at my name is on the building. I think there is some of that as well. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
Police officers were injured by gunfire in Missouri and Las Vegas. 2 people were killed in Chicago. There was one moment of calm when the police chief in New York, where officers are being investigated for brutal tactics against protesters, fell to his knee in respect for George Floyd and embraced a young black man. But in Washington, military helicopters...
So that's good. It's a show of humanity. But it's something. It's news because it's unusual. That's the problem. Where, yeah, well done, but this should be normal behavior. Something about many of the police officers, they are people from ethnic minorities. They come from working class backgrounds, and they're being instructed by probably the most corrupt president in US history to go out and beat the crap out of other poor and working class people. I'm not talking about the the middle class yobbos. Do we still use that word, yobbo? Who arrive on skateboards with their iPhones. I'm not talking about those people who are like, oh, cool dude, let's smash up some Macy's store. No, I'm talking about the people the working class people who are protesting because they are afraid for their lives. They're afraid of what the police have been doing to them over the last number of decades. And at the same time, the police themselves, why are the police going along with this? Can you imagine if the police said, we're not going to do this. We're going to throw down our shields. We're going to throw down our batons. And we're going to join with the protesters. We're going to you mentioned the people protecting Donald Trump in the White House. If they said, to hell with this. Why are we putting our lives on the line for this charlatan, for this fake tanned, obese, hamburger-eating crook? Why? Leave him to the crowd. Let him fight it out. Can you imagine a video of Donald Trump surrounded by a crowd of protesters and him trying to fight them off? Stanley, thank you for becoming a Patreon. Thank you very much. Great to see you. Hope to see you on Discord. But can you imagine Donald Trump fighting off a group of protesters? That would be interesting. Okay, I'm not going to watch all of this video, but let's move along a little bit further.
Helicopters circled menacingly overhead as streets near the White House were blocked off one by one and protesters forced back.
People keep getting killed and nobody held accountable. Nobody's held accountable. That's what it is, plain and simple.
Do you feel that you need to hear from your president? Do you think that he's risen to this crisis?
The principle here that you need to be focused on is Black Lives Matter. You need to be more compassionate. If you're supposed to be my president, then do something. I do not feel safe in America.
He's threatening the people. He's threatening the people he's supposed to represent and he's supposed to protect.
Has the president done anything in your view to help this situation?
No.
As evening fell, the Attorney General William Barr, whose Justice Department helped oversee the crackdown, left the White House, as did Mark Esper, the Defense Secretary, who stopped to talk to military personnel.
Are you happy with the results of the crackdown this evening? Was the use of tear gas on the crowd outside the White House wholly necessary this evening? Are you happy with the results?
Aren't these people disgusting? Also, the fact that they walk around with 25 bodyguards, doesn't that tell you something? If I have to walk around with 25 bodyguards, means maybe I'm not that great of a person. I think it was the ex-president of Bolivia. I think maybe it wasn't Bolivia. I apologies, I'm getting the country wrong. But he would drive around in an old Volkswagen Beetle, meeting with the people. He didn't have any bodyguards. He'd get out, he'd meet the people, shake their hands. Isn't that what a president should be about? Someone who's able to walk around without bodyguards, without like armored vehicles. Isn't it telling you something that these people need armored vehicles? Isn't that how connected they are with the public, with ordinary people? Trump and Melania surrounded by a mob. Melania, save us, distract us, drop this. Well, Anthony, you don't need her to do it now. If you search on Google, you'll probably find some images. Black Elvis says Barr's dad gave Epstein his dodgy teaching job without qualifications. They're all cronies. In Holland, the PM meets the king with a bicycle. There you go. Whether you agree with their politics or not, I think it's still, I have more respect for somebody who, apart from Boris Johnson went around as mayor of London on a bicycle, but I think that was probably staged. I don't know whether he actually did all the time go by bicycle, but if he did, then I take that back.
Results of the crackdown this evening.
The lights are on. The president of law and order may feel safer, but does the rest of America?
Well, we're now...
Q Library says, I'm going to get some ice cream. Bring me back an ice cream as well, Q Library.
Joined from Arlington, Virginia by Paris Dennard, a conservative commentator who's worked for George W. Bush in the White House and has been named the spokesperson for Black Voices for Trump.
Black Voices for Trump. I hope this guy is getting well paid. I hope he's getting, a six-figure sum. It's like, this is like a Scottish person voting for Brexit. Or a Northern Ireland person voting now for the DUP. Really, Black Voices for Trump. But this should be interesting.
For the 2020 re-election campaign. And from Washington, D.C., the lawyer Roy Austin, who was Deputy Assistant Attorney General at the U.S. Department of Justice under President Obama. He later worked for the White House.
Sorry, Jerry says if Trump went out into the crowd of protesters, he'd end up like Gaddafi. That would be terrible, Jerry. That would be... I would cry a great number of tears.
Could we just ask you, first of all, Paris Dennard, what does it say of President Trump that he's become the first president in more than 3 decades to have to consider bringing the army onto the streets of America?
Well, first of all, I want to say that package was the biggest piece of leftist propaganda I've ever seen in my life.
So I'm not going to answer your question. I'm going to attack you as a leftist. Channel 4 is a leftist media outlet. Okay. This is probably his very first interaction with Channel 4. He's like, there's a British news outlet want to contact you to talk about Trump. Oh, okay. But remember, the first thing you have to say is that they're leftist. Okay, like Andrew Neil. Remember Andrew Neil, the leftist?
Life. I think it's just deplorable that your viewers are seeing that and that total distortion of what's happening. But I will say that President Trump did not want to get to this point of having to ask or bring in the National Guard because Democrat leaders, mayors, and governors.
He got the memo that you said you call them Democrat governors, not Democratic. This is something that really pisses me off. It really grinds my gears about these Republican or right-wing commentators or idiots. They don't say Democratic. They say Democrat. The Democrat Party, not the Democratic Party. So they're incapable of actually giving it its proper name. There is no Democrat Party. It's called the Democratic Party. But it's an attempt to show they're not democratic. They're Democrat.
Did not do what they should have done, which is call in the guard themselves and get order and prevent the looting, the rioting, the violence, the shootings, the deaths from Antifa, whom the president wants to label a domestic terrorist organization, and other outside agitator groups that are destroying, burning down.
But this whole aspect of look, squirrel, let's ignore the real problem here and let's talk about something completely different. So Antifa. Remember, everyone sits up when they hear that name. Any Republicans, I don't think there'll be any Republicans watching Sky News. Maybe a few Brexiteers, which are quite similar. But they will be watching this. Antifa, yeah, I heard about them. They're bad people. I don't know what they are or what they do, but I know they're bad. So every time I hear the word Antifa, I know I have to react with Antifa.
The black.
Sorry, and the fact that Donald Trump designated them a terrorist organization. How can it be an organization if they're not organized? Who is the leader? Tell me, who is the leader of Antifa? I call it Antifa, but anyway. Who's their leader? Or can you give me an example or tell me about some of their command structure? Who's maybe the vice leader or the finance guy or the the propaganda minister, or tell me something about the structure. So if it's an organization, it has a structure. By definition, an organization has a structure. So what structure does Antifa have? It doesn't have a structure. This is an attempt just to convince people about something that doesn't exist. Because it's true, they don't need a leader. They don't need a leader. Can you explain, give me an example of an organization that doesn't have a leader or doesn't have some sort of command structure?
Community, black small businesses. The president did not want that to happen. That's why he called on the Democrat mayors and governors to act.
Once again, Democrat. Why Democrat, not democratic? I would call him out and say, sorry, who are these Democrat people? Do you mean the Democratic? Because I've never heard of Democrat.
In America, we have something called federalism. And the governors and the mayors are actually in charge of their own states and cities. And so they have to act to keep the peace. And that is exactly what President Trump was calling on that to happen, so that we would not get to a point where black cities in America will be burned down, businesses would be burned down like they were 99 years ago during the Tulsa riot.
Just the idea that this person is... So I'm going to ignore Uncle Tom's for Trump. Really, no, but at least, an Uncle Tom would do it because they believe it politically, but I don't think this guy believes it politically. He was handed a sheet. Complain about this, use these buzzwords, Antifa, Democrat, not democratic, black cities, poor black people, black businesses. Use these buzzwords. Donald Trump is doing everything he can. The corrupt Democrat Party are the problem. This is the guy who used to be a member of the Trump Party and was let go because he was found to be harassing women. People were less shocked about the harassment and more surprised he was not gay. That's terrible, Anthony C. But
where the Black Wall Street was burned away, and that ended generational black wealth, black businesses, and the black community. The president is standing on...
See, Donald Trump is here to defend the black community. This is what he's there for. There's the black community and there's the white community. There are good people on both sides. He said it before. There's people carrying torches and saying, "Hail Donald Trump," and there are people saying, "Please don't kill us." They're equal in a way. Okay, the police murders a guy by kneeling on his neck, and somebody breaks the window of a shop. These are pretty much the same thing. Okay, So Donald Trump, at least we have somebody like Donald Trump who's stepping in and calling this, pointing out this fact.
On the side
I think you've had a pretty good say. I think we'll have to interrupt. There are other people in the discussion, or one other person.
But how can there be other people? I'm here to I haven't finished my list yet. Let me finish my list of talking points and buzzwords.
So let's move on for a moment, Paris Dennard. I would just point out that our correspondent is actually there and you're not. And that is a rather large difference between the two of you.
And I will actually point out that...
Just put him on mute. John, please. Jon Snow, the Channel 4 guy. Put him on mute. Let him blah, blah, blah. It's pointless listening to this guy.
I am from the black community. I will actually point out that I know what's going on in my community.
That sounds a bit racist, doesn't it? Especially for a Trump supporter. How dare you ask a white guy who's actually at the city about what's happening than a black guy who's not in the city and who has a Trump supporter written all over the back of his wall?
I will actually point out that Arlington, Virginia is not technically Washington, D.C., but it is across the bridge. That's happened where I happen to live. So don't insult me and say just because your reporter happens to be on there has any idea what it means to be black.
Please, John, please, mute.
Black in America, has any idea what it means to go through what we are going through. This country in these black communities are suffering because people like the Democrat governors and mayors stood by and sat there in silence like Joe Biden did from the comforts of his basement in Delaware.
You're talking about Joe Biden in a basement when Donald Trump was hiding in a bunker. Was he shouting at, what was the guy? Did he have a map saying, look, we're going to attack this part of the city at this time, and then we're going to bring in the tanks and bring in the army, in the invisible army, 9th Army, 6th Army or 9th Army? Which was it that was in Stalingrad?
Don't offend me. This is serious. We know what's going on in our country.
Talking of offence, perhaps we could just move on. Roy Austin, talking of offence, how offensive is it for the president to have described the people on the streets of New York as low-life and losers?
The president's rhetoric is unbelievable, and Mr. Dennard is clearly unhinged at this moment because his president is flailing and failing in every way imaginable. From the time he came into office, he has been pouring oil on people, on movements that have been trying to address police misconduct, police misbehavior. Your report that led into this thing was wholly accurate. Look, there are tens of thousands of people who are marching peaceably. There are a few outliers there, and it's unclear who those outliers are. There are mayors and governors, Republican and Democratic, who have called for peace, and yet this president has called for shooting of looters, which makes no sense. He's called for putting dogs on peaceful demonstrators, which makes no sense. And yesterday we all watched as he basically used hundreds of National Guardsmen and officers simply for a photo opportunity.
Why is this guy sounding calm? He's angry, but he's calm. While the other guy who is allegedly not angry because he's defending the president. He's saying the president is doing everything right, and he's not being victimized. He should be. This guy on the screen now, he should be the one who's angry. He should be screaming at the screen, saying the president is killing. He wants to kill people. He wants to send out the army to shoot people. He should be angry. The other idiot shouldn't be angry.
Which made absolutely no sense whatsoever, and contradicts everything that people are trying to do. We tried to work with police departments. We tried to work with communities. We tried to work with activists. We were moving the ball forward on these things post-Ferguson, and everything we have done is being undone right now. And to call Arlington, Virginia, Washington, D.C. Just shows how unhinged Mr. Dennard is.
Okay, I'm going to end it, and we're going to move on to the next topic now. But Because you can't be black and support Donald Trump, can you, Max? No racism there, mate. Did I ever say that you can't be black and support Donald Trump? I just don't understand why you would do that. It's like, are there Scottish people who support Brexit? Yes, there are. I don't understand why. Maybe you can explain to me why Scottish people would support Brexit, or people in Northern Ireland would vote for the DUP today. I would like to know why people would do that. I would like to know why black people would consider Donald Trump their hero, why they think that he's working for them. I'd like to know why anyone would think, who's not a billionaire, who's willing to give money to Donald Trump, why they would think he's working for them. Judge Damien of a guy costume. Okay, so I want to move on to the UK, and we're going to see our favorite non-doctor. So let's hear what Matt Hancock had to say.
Trading is not for everyone, but if you...
Ads, okay.
Slide 1 shows the test.
Okay, so we're going to hear some news and update from Matt Hancock regarding the coronavirus in the UK. Just before we jump to that, some Scottish people support Rangers. I really don't understand. Well, it's a football team. Let me see. Joe Biden in his basement and Donny Donut in his bunker. The American electorate has a choice of two sexually abusing, warmongering non-entities. No, not Hancock. Oh no, not the hand. Hancock in the house. I promise you I won't impose too much of John. I was going to say John Hancock. Why you guys have confused me. Matt Hancock. Let's hear what he had to say.
Testing capacity and the number of new cases. The slide, the top chart in the slide shows the number of tests. And that number of tests as of the 2nd of June was 135,643. This is different to testing capacity, which stands at just over 200,000. And as I said yesterday, this demonstrates that there is spare capacity in testing. And so if you have symptoms of coronavirus, that's a fever or a new dry cough or a change in your sense of taste or smell, then please do go and get a test from nhs.uk/coronavirus.
Please, guys, his name is Matt Hancock. Stop making jokes about his name.
Or by phoning 119. It's incredibly important that we can trace the virus by ensuring that anybody with symptoms has a test. And of course, we're rolling out testing across care homes and making sure that staff in hospitals get the opportunity to be tested as well. The bottom chart on the slide shows the number of confirmed cases. This is 1,613 as of, again, the 2nd of June. And
so I think yesterday it was 1,800. So it has dropped 200 cases. Once again, is this enough to ease on the lockdown? I don't think so.
Brings the total of number of cases confirmed in the UK to 277,985. And although the 1,613 figure is slightly higher than yesterday, we can see that the 7-day rolling average continues to fall. Second slide, please. The data from hospitals show that those new admissions to hospitals in England has fallen to 436. This is down from 471 on the 24th of May, so just over a week ago, and down from a high of 3,121 on the 2nd of April. This figure of 436 admissions to hospitals in England with COVID-19 is the lowest figure since the 20th of March, and it demonstrates once again that we are making progress against this disease.
Yes, because of the frigging lockdown. I still don't understand why he keeps saying, yes, we're making progress against the disease. Now let's open up everything. Pretty much. And a big problem is that a lot of the people who weren't respecting social distancing before are definitely not going to respect it now. We want the Durham Dash. Who can make the Durham Dash? Back to London to Durham in under 5 hours.
Again, as yesterday, the proportion of mechanical ventilators, ventilated beds that are occupied by patients with coronavirus remains at 9%.
Killer, you're very mean. His maths is as suspect as yours. Lee Gibson says 50,000 deaths. UK population 66 million. Speaking Durham, I saw the end of the queue. Question MPs vote in Durham. Nobody typed Matt Wank.
Next slide, please. Thank you. Just like yesterday, the number of people in hospital continues to fall. 7,607 are now in hospital with coronavirus, and that is falling broadly falling in each part of the country, but for a little bit of day-to-day movement in some of the areas. For instance, as you can see right at the end of the chart for the North East and Yorkshire, but we keep that very closely under review, but the overriding trend, as you can see, is downwards. The next slide is the number of deaths, and sadly, on the 2nd of June yesterday, 324 deaths with coronavirus were recorded, taking the total to 39,369. And
so 324 deaths is still way too high. And of course, what does this include?
We mourn each one of these, and we try to keep these data as accurate as possible, including where we find in the past in some cases there are deaths where we discover that there has been a connection to coronavirus, and we add those into those data. So we can see that again the trend is broadly down, but there is still some way to go. And after the weekend effect,
he sounds like a weather forecast.
In terms of the number of deaths recorded, because this is according to the date these are recorded, we've seen that rise on most Mondays, and sadly the figure is 324 today. Next slide, final slide, please. The final slide reports on data from the Office for National Statistics, which was reported this morning, and reported a total of 48,106 deaths in the UK, where COVID-19 was mentioned on the death certificate.
Now this is the problem, because a lot of people who die in care homes will not have COVID-19 on their death certificate, because the doctor did not have the ability, the chance to actually test whether this patient actually died of COVID-19. So so a lot of people are being written off as died of Alzheimer's, or died of died from Alzheimer's or pneumonia or heart disease, or something that is acceptable in a sense to be put on a death certificate. Hamster eye test contribution. Thank you very much, Tom. If you need to test your eyes, remember Durham is a great place. Also visit the castle. There's a very nice castle there to help you test your eyes. I have friends and family in the NHS. It's not a scam. Max, it's Matt Hands Hancock working furiously for a Tory climax. Namely 120,000 dead Brits. Why does the sign say "Stay alert"? We're more likely to get COVID if we nod off. It is quite a boring slide today. So let me move on to something a bit more interesting. But once again, it's important to remember that these numbers, 48,000, is part, not the entire number. This is part of the number of deaths. Okay. The Conservative Party are admirers of all things Scottish. So I wanted to show you this video.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It's a pleasure to be called in this debate and to follow the Right Honourable Member for Staffordshire Moorlands. And I would implore her that she does move her amendments this afternoon. They are important amendments.
Sorry, there's a problem with the video. Ah, the hamsters. Let me try to remove it and then re-add it. Just a moment. Apologies, the hamsters are having some problems tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It's a pleasure to be called in this debate and to follow the Right Honourable Member for Staffordshire.
No, unfortunately the video is not working. Ah, okay. Let me. I'll move on to the next topic. Hopefully this will work instead. I don't want to end the stream this way. No, it's not working. Oh my god, black screens black screens matter. Now unfortunately I apologize deeply, guys. The stream doesn't seem to be allowing me to add this browser. I'm trying to add my browser so you can see what I have on screen, but it doesn't seem to be working. Let me try this way. No, apologies. It's apologies. For some reason it has stopped working. The hamsters are moving moving to the right. Instead, what else I'll do is I was planning to finish the live stream tonight after 2 hours anyway, so I'll just something a bit more intimate, so I'll respond to your comments. Apologies for this. I don't understand why the browser source is not working. It was working up until now, but now no. Okay. By the way, Maxi, why don't you download the videos in advance and just play them as MP4 versions instead of doing this weird YouTube thing? I tried that, but it didn't work very well, Maria. The software wouldn't let me stop the videos for some reason. Try this. Now the problem, Killer, is that it won't allow me to link any videos at the moment. Apologies for this. It's Windows, yes. The hamsters are domestic terrorists. Anyway, let me read some of your comments. So let's get back to your comments so I can be a bit more direct with you. The questions for MPs to vote was one of a joke. So yeah, so what happened, of course, today was the MPs have been there's been pressure put on MPs. The hamsters ate the videos. Of course, in the House of Parliament, there's been pressure put on MPs to return, not to maintain the current system of voting virtually. which is, of course, putting a lot of MPs' lives at risk, because many of them need to stay at home. They are shielded. They have to stay in their homes because of health issues or because of age. But Jacob Rees-Mogg wants everyone to return, which is, as I said before in some of the other videos, it's about getting more bums on seats, because Boris Johnson needs his support in Parliament. Shame you couldn't end with the Durham Dash song. I can play audio for some reason. I can play the audio, but unfortunately, it's not. We won't be able to see the video. So if it's good enough, the audio, we can end on the audio only. For some reason, it's Night Raven. No, Freddie Star Tapsters. New hashtag Jacob Creasefield gets rid of ads. I've heard that the law voting from home ran out. Probably, and okay, thank you, Killer. So we can play the sound. Let me just wait for the link to appear. Just a moment.
have a friend round and they enter your house, that's illegal. That's illegal. When you want to have sex with someone you just met, that's illegal. That's illegal. Sirens ring, ding-a-ling-a-ling, ding-a-ling-a-ling, and the cops are out flogging. Fines to pay, tippy-tippy-tay, tippy-tippy-tay, when they catch you out dogging instead of jogging. When you meet friends for drinks and there are more than 6, that's illegal. That's illegal. When you want to have sex, then your best bet is your letterbox. Letterbox. As he pokes through the gap and you let out a gasp, it's all legal. Yes, the world has gone nuts when you can't give a hug, it's illegal. When the schools can't go back, but you can buy flat pack at IKEA. At IKEA. When you can't hug your friends, but you can buy cheap shelves at IKEA. At IKEA. Tills will ring, ding-a-ling-a-ling, ding-a-ling-a-ling, as they take in all the cash. Grown-ups swear Billy Bollocks feck, Billy Bollocks fecked, 'cause instructions are rubbish, or in Swedish. If you can smell a fart, you're not 2 meters apart, and that's illegal. That's illegal. If your friend can still see something stuck in your teeth, you're too close. You're too close. Queuing in crowded stores to buy some cheap drawers, that's all legal. Yes, the world has gone mad when the singles can't shag. It's illegal. It's illegal. It's illegal.
Fantastic, fantastic, very good. Okay, guys, I think we'll have to end the stream here, unfortunately, because of these technical issues and the hamsters not pulling their weight, or maybe I'm not pulling my weight enough. So apologies. I really hope I can get this sorted out for our Friday stream. I promise I'll find some way to bribe the hamsters. So thank you all very much for coming on the stream tonight. We got up to a new record, I think. Thanks to everyone for their super chats. Thanks to everyone for your kind comments and your donations. Also those who have become Patreons. So I look forward to seeing all of you on Friday. So remember to stay safe, to stay alert, stay at home, wash those hands, and avoid Matt Hancock. So take care, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you on Friday, hamsters permitting. Good night.